So in this lecture, we will be looking at GitHub, right? In the previous session, we have seen how Git can be used as a local repository, and we can commit our code, and we can move it to the staging area, right? We can make changes to the code, and we can check status of the changes that we have made. But that we have seen in the local repository, right? That is local to our system on local to our machine, right? So now we will be seeing what is the need of remote repositories, right? Remote repositories are needed whenever there are more than one developer is working on the same project, right? So this is basically a centralized repository which act as a hub between communication and collaboration that's been done inside a particular project, right? It can handle more than one project. It can handle n number of developers sitting at remote location. Let's say there are few developers sitting in US, some sitting in UK, some sitting in India, right? And they all are working on a same project, right? So at the same time, how they can perform check-ins and checkouts in a particular project, how they can merge their code, that is what being managed by the remote repository, which is GitHub, right? Which we will be using when we are working on Git. So Git is a local repository, and GitHub is basically a service provider to these remote repositories, right? It comes in two parts. One is a public, and the other one is paid, which comes with a premium license, right? Public, we're gonna use in this example. We're gonna see how we can create a public account. Public account is basically free of cost. Most of the open source projects you're gonna find it using public accounts, right? In public account, the only drawback is that whatever code that you're gonna upload, you're gonna push into the remote repository, that code will be seen by other people as well. Other people can go to your repository and can take a look at the code that you have post onto your repository, right? But private repositories are generally used in between the companies. If the companies does not want to give access to any third party, then it is basically a restricted access, right? So in case you want to use Git for your internal company for n number of resources, right? More than one resources, you can go for a private license as well, right? So we'll talk about GitHub more. First, let's see what exactly GitHub is. GitHub is basically a Git repository web hosting service, right? So the local repository that we have created with the help of Git, the same repository will be pushed up to the GitHub, right? Same repository will be maintained on the GitHub, that is on a remote server or a remote repository. The same Git repository will be created. So it is basically a web application that can be accessed anywhere in the world using internet, right? So if your client wants to access the code, he can be at any location and he can take a look at the project code that you commit, what is currently that is going on in your project. He can take a look at the entire thing that you have actually pushed to the remote repository with the help of a URL. There's no special installation required for GitHub. GitHub is basically accessed through internet, through a website itself, right? So you only need to have an account on the GitHub to maintain repository on the remote server, right? So if a project repository is stored in GitHub, then it works as a centralized repository and can be used by multiple teams across the world, right? So it is basically you can also say that it's an ideal centralized repository for all open source projects. Most of the open source projects use GitHub. If you search it on internet as well, you'll find most of the Selenium 3.0 projects like APM, Selendroid, they are basically maintaining their entire project code on GitHub repositories itself, right? So So in order to work with GitHub, we're gonna first see how we can register with GitHub, right? As I already told you that GitHub provides both public and private repository services, right? So public repositories are basically free, whereas private repositories are paid. And in order to use Git service, first we need to register with GitHub, right? So let's go to GitHub and see how we can register our account over there. So I'll open up a browser and I'll navigate to the URL that is github.com, right? So github.com, okay, yeah, this is I mean, you can sign up for GitHub, pick any username, your email, your password, and you can create a GitHub account. So the sign up details are very simple. The account creation is very simple. You need not to pay anything. It's actually a free account. Later on, you can decide whether you want to use a private version or a public version, right? So just sign up for Git. I already have an account on Git, right? So I'll just do sign in and I'll enter my email ID. That is email.com, and I'll give my password over here and I'll click on sign in. So this is the very first home page of Git that you're gonna see. So Git is not only for checking in and checking out of your project code. There are many things that you can do with the help of Git, right? You can create multiple repositories, you can add multiple projects, you can fork repositories. Fork repository as in like if you have seen, you can search for any open source project, right? Let's say if I search for a project called APM, or if I search for a project called Cylindroid. See, Cylindroid guys have actually added their entire project over here, right? If I want to fork their project, or if I want to watch their project, I can even watch, I can click on this and I can watch their project. So the entire project will gonna come on my GitHub account, and if there are any changes that is being done inside this project, then I will be notified about that particular change, right? So there the GitHub comes with lots and lots of features, right? You can work together, you can create new branches, right? So there's one work together feature. This is basically a social feature, which is very helpful, right? It's like a social networking group. You can say follow a friend, right? Let's say your friend is working on any project, and if you want to follow him, what all things that he had, what all things that he like implement in his project. If you want to follow him, then you can click on this follow icon, and you will be able to follow him on each and every changes that he make to his project, and you should be able to intimate what all changes that he is actually making. So these features are available in public as well as in private, but in private you have restriction that you can disallow these changes, disallow any person to follow, and basically if you, because in private repositories you don't want that anyone else should follow, you want that only the limited group, if you want to like allow limited people to follow you, then you can opt for the private repositories as well, right? So there are many things that you can do with the help of Git. It's not like only pushing and pulling the code from the repository, right? So Git comes with so many features. These are so many good features. You can study more about it, but right now we're gonna see how we can push our local repository onto GitHub, right? That is our main purpose. Now, if I click on my account name over here, it will going to show you my home page, right? What all projects that I have over here, what all repositories that I am contributing to, right? So it will going to show me my daily activities, and like what all I'm performing, if I'm what all my projects are, right? and what all codes that I've actually checked in over here. If I let's say click on this particular project, you can see the code for this project. The entire project code has been checked in over here, right? So what we're going to do, we'll now going to see that how we can actually add our local repository project to GitHub on the remote repository, right? And and before going further, I'm gonna show you one or two more features over here. So this is like public activity. The activity that I have generally done through this account, it will gonna actually maintain the entire history of the activity that I have generally performed. Repositories are whatever repositories that I have in my account, so it will gonna show all those repositories, and this is my contribution. Right, these are the three main section on which you can see your daily reports, right? Now what we're gonna do right now is that we're gonna create a new repository over here, and we're gonna push the project that we have created via the Git local repository, the project that we have in Git local repository. So over there, what we have seen is that we have created some sort of a non-technical project, right? It was just the text files that we have created, but right now we are actually going to create a new Maven project, right? That is a WebDriver project we're going to create, and we're going to see how we can upload that project onto the remote repository, right? So very first we need to create a new repository. So I'll click on new, and I'll give this repository some name. So I'll give it a name as, let's say, WebDriver Maven, right? Any name you can give to this repository. And a description, it's optional if you want to give some description. This is a demo Git project, right? And public, we cannot do it private, because for this we would be needing some licensing, so we'll be doing it public only, right? And then I'll click on create repository, and in my account an empty repository has been successfully created, right? And I got these things. So what are these things? We're gonna talk about quick setup, how we're gonna do this. Now what we need to do, we actually need to upload the code over here that is there in my local repository, right? And in order to do that, I will actually be creating a new Maven project, right? I'll be creating a very simple project in which we're gonna let's say I give it a name as Git WebDriver Maven, right? And I'll create a very simple project which will actually open up a browser and perform some actions, right? Just to give you an idea how you can check in that particular code onto a remote repository, right? So let it open, and we close this window. I'll create a very simple Maven project. I'll say new project, and I'm going to select the Maven project from here, right? And click on next, and I'll say create a simple project, and I'll give some group ID that is com.w2a, and give a name as any name I can give to this project. Let's say WebDriver Maven, right? And just click on finish. A Maven project will be created in a while, right? A Maven project created, and just give me a moment. It's actually building it. 99% done. So in a couple of seconds, we're gonna find all the files added to this project. Still building. Alright, it's almost done. Right. All right. So this is a simple project like hierarchy that we're gonna see over here. Right now there are no folders. So what I'm gonna do inside our test folder, I'm gonna create a new test case, and Maven dependency for WebDriver, we're gonna add it over here. So WebDriver dependency, like the Selenium dependency, we would be needing, and we would be needing a TestNG dependency. So we need to add them in the form.xml file. So let's search for the dependency that we have for Selenium. We'll Google it.